Hey you guys! It's me, Shania, and I'm back again with another DIY tutorial for you. If you're new to this channel, my name is Shania. And on this channel, I have loads of sewing tutorials. Some of the tutorials are from things that I have made from scratch, from fabric to finish, and of things that I have made that I've kind of just remixed it and refashioned it and upcycled it. So if you're into that sort of thing, you should definitely stick around and check out my other videos and subscribe to this community because we are here for you. I could not use my camera because I was waiting for a new battery to come in the mail, so I had to use my cell phone, so I'm sorry that it is not the best quality, but I think the instructions are pretty clear, and if they're not, you can leave me a comment and let me know if there's anything I can help you with, or you could also just DM me because I'm literally on Instagram every single day and I'm always responding to you guys' questions and things that you send me in my DMs. So follow me on Instagram, Shania Inside. I'll be waiting for ya. All right, I think that's enough chatter. So let's get into this tutorial. So I'm rolling out a piece of paper so that I can create my new pattern. And I'm taking my bodice block. I'm basically putting it down onto the sheet of paper. And by the way, if you want to know how I made this bodice block for my body, just check the description below. I'm literally just tracing from the waistline all the way down on both sides. I want to just make a mark at the end of on both sides of the waistline. And then I want to take something pointy and just kind of drill a hole through the dart. So the 2 points at the top of the dart, as well as that one part at the bottom of the dart. And this is just a way to transfer the dart. So now once I take off my can of beans, my can of lentils, then I have like the outline of the pattern. So I'm just going to connect the two parallel lines so that I have formed the skirt pattern. And you can see like the bottom of my skirt was a little bit uneven, so I just made sure that I used my ruler to make sure that I had like a straight line. So just always make sure that your lines are straight so that your skirt is not crooked. So once I've connected those 3 points, it should look something like this. Bada bing, bada boom. And now I just want to draw a long vertical line in the middle of that dart. And I kind of just eyeballed it based on the bottom of the dart. So then finally, I'm just titling my pattern. I'm making a note to myself to remind myself that this part right here is the center front, which means that I need to make sure the fabric is folded. And I only need one piece. So now you should have 2 pieces like this, so beautifully cut out. And now it's time to make the back pattern for our skirt. And we're basically doing the same thing, except the only difference is that we're gonna trace the back part of our bodice block. Now the only difference is that after you trace it, you don't need to draw that vertical line going down the middle of the dart because it's going to be 2 separate pieces. Originally I wanted to cut on fold, but because I decided to put the zipper at the back of the skirt, I decided to cut 2 pieces. So you can just go ahead and disregard the cut on fold part and cut 2 pieces. No seam allowance is included. So this is what the girl is looking like. I put a piece of tape on my fabric so that I could remember that it's the wrong side of the fabric because I be getting so confused sometimes. Here I just took the center fold pattern and I'm putting it along the fold of my fabric and I'm just tracing it along the edges. So when you take her off of the fabric, you'll see that this is what your tracing should look like. Take the other panel, so the side front, and you want to put it about 1 inch away from that panel that you just traced. So then you're just gonna trace that bad girl like you did with the other one. Here's the diagram for where you need to place your pins. The pin that's near the star is going to be super important for when you flip your fabric over. And then I flipped over the fabric, and then I took my side front panel, I flipped it over, and I lined up the right side edge with the pin that was close to the star in the previous diagram. So then you want to flip it back over to the original side that has the 2 panels, and you're just going to cut out that first center front panel. Remember to include the seam allowance around the tracing. So I just put a CF so that I know it's the center front, and I put it on this side so that I know that this is the side that connects to that center front piece. Then you want to flip your fabric over to that other piece that we had randomly traced on the back of the fabric. And again, we're going to label it with the CF so that we know where the seam of this panel is supposed to connect to that middle piece. We have our side front panel, and our other side front panel, and then we have our center front panel. And remember, we cut this one on the fold, so we need to unpin it. Now we want to trace our back pattern, and remember, we're not tracing this on folded fabric because we want 2 separate pieces. I made a mark at the top points of my dart. I measure from the top edge to the point of my dart. And it is about 5 inches. So I'm going to keep that in mind. I'm going to take my pattern off of the fabric, and I'm going to get my measuring tape, and I'm going to measure from the edge of the tracing down 5 inches. And I'm going to try to put my measuring tape like in the middle of those 2 points. And then basically I'm going to connect those 3 points to transfer my dart. And once I've done that, it looks like this. Take that same back pattern, and I'm going to fold it so that the wrong side is facing up, and I'm going to line up the top edge with the top edge of the outline that I just traced. So you basically want to transfer the dart, but don't make the mistake that I did. I did not need to flip the paper back onto the right side. I should have kept it on the wrong side so that I could accurately transfer the dart. So this is what your 2 back pieces should look like now that they are serged along the edges. And now what we want to do is we want to base stitch our dart. So to do that, okay, so what you want to do is you want to take your needle and you want to start from underneath, and you want to go bring your needle up, and then you want to bring your needle down along that same line and bring it under so that it connects or it comes over to the other line, and then bring the needle down so that it's on that same line, and then pull your thread through, and then go back to the other line underneath, bring the needle up, and then bring the needle down on that same line, and then bring the needle up on the other line. And you're just going to keep repeating this pattern, and you'll know that you're doing it right when you see that you basically have like long lines of stitches on each leg of the dart, and when you look on the other side of the fabric, it should look like horizontal lines. So that's how you know you've done it right. If you have trouble with this, just leave me a comment and I'll make like a separate video explaining this, or just keep watching this part over and over till you get it. Whatever works for you. Okay, so to close up the dart, we're basically just going to pull on both ends of the thread. And you can see I still have the needle there. And you're just gonna pull on it lightly and it will close the dart. And this is going to help you when it's time to sew the dart using your sewing machine. And just give it a little tug if it gets a little like wavy and puckered. And you're just going to stitch along this line, and that's it, and it should look like this. Okay, so here you can see I have 2 white marks, and those marks represent where my zipper ends. So right where that metallic part is, I just kind of drew a little line to make a mark. Sandwich these 2 pieces on top of each other so that they're right sides facing. And then I am going to pin it down, and it should look like this. You should take an iron and open this up so that it lays flat, but ain't nobody got time for that, and I'm just lazy. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my zipper and I'm just going to line it up with the edge of the fabric, and I'm going to pin it down. Okay, so now that that side is pinned down, I flipped the pattern over. I am basically folding along that seam allowance, and I am pinning the folded fabric to the side of the zipper teeth that haven't yet been covered. I'm just going to do a straight stitch as close as possible to the zipper teeth without actually sewing on the zipper teeth. And this is what your zipper should look like. Isn't she fabulous? You want to take your center front panel and you want to measure 14 inches down from the top along the side and make a mark. And then from the bottom, you want to measure a 1/2 inch inward from the edge and make a mark. And then you want to draw a diagonal line to connect those two marks. And you're going to repeat this step for the other side of the panel. So your two diagonal lines should look like this, and you're basically going to repeat the same step for the other two panels, but you're only going to do it on the side of the panels that connects directly with that center front panel. And then you're going to fold along the line, along the diagonal line, and then you're just going to stitch it in place, and you're going to do the same thing for all of the diagonal lines. So then you want to take one of the side panels and you want to stack it on top of the center panel, making sure that the right sides are facing, and then just pin it along the edge, and then do the same thing with the other side panel. And essentially you're going to be sewing along the side, along the seam allowance line, so that we can connect all three panels to make one piece for our front. So now you want to stack the front piece and the back piece on top of each other so that they're right sides facing, and you're going to pin down one side of the two layers, and then you're going to sew along the seam allowance line on that one side. It should look something like this when you open it. Fold right down where that extra piece of fabric above the zipper is. Just fold down there and just use that as the guide for the top hem, and then pin it down, and then sew. And then for the bottom, you're just going to fold along the seam allowance line for each panel, and then pin it and then sew as well. So now that everything is all hemmed, the top and the bottom, we want to close the pattern by having the right sides face each other, and then we're going to pin down the side and do a straight stitch along the seam allowance line, and that is it. And here it is, y'all.